Hi, Flosstube. My name is Becca, and I'm SamBrie Stitches here on Flosstube and Instagram. And this is another special edition of Interview with a Flosstuber. I'm very excited today to be here with Park Hopper Bart. I really enjoy his channel. First off, he's hilarious. Very funny. Second, he stitches very cool and unique products or projects, and some of them are larger, which I don't typically do, so I kind of live through him vicariously for that. He also designs, which is very cool. He has his own gumroad, which I'll link down below. A little bit. No, you've got quite a few patterns. They're pretty cool. And occasionally there's kitties roaming around. We did have one earlier before we hit record, but
LeBron is here, but he's now going to be camera shy.
Maybe make an appearance at some point. But
yeah,
if you're not familiar with his channel or his gumroad, I'll have that all linked down below so you can go check it out. But how are you doing today?
I'm good. We were talking a little bit before we started that that's like, I'm in Florida, and today it was 82. So most of the country right now is not. So.
Right. Man, well, yeah, I'm in gloves. It's 40 degrees. It's raining. I don't know if you can hear the rain, but we have a little bit of snow left on the ground from our little snowstorm over Valentine's weekend. So enjoy the warmth. I'm a little jealous. A little bit. Yeah. So why don't we jump into the questions? The first one is, why did you start a floss tube, and were there any particular motivations?
So I think, it hasn't really been that long since I started making my videos, but I want to say back when I started stitching and I discovered Flosstube on YouTube, most of it that I had watched was from Kristen at Sapphire Mountain Handcrafts back before she really got going and had more time to do videos. And then I think through Instagram I got connected with Lolly.
Oh.
So I was watching Lolly's video, and and then from Lolly to Michelle, and then it just
branched out from there.
And then it's now I can't keep up with. Now there's so much that I can't keep up with it all.
I know. Oh my gosh, I think somebody had told me that there's a Flosstuber that has compiled a list of all the Flosstubers. I still have yet to go look, but I think they said there's over 800 right now.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that's a lot of work to compile all the Flosstubers.
And then like during like Christmas time, when everybody does the Flossmas videos, and it's like then it's even worse.
yeah. And now there's Valentine's where they're doing the Vlogmas. There's all different ones, but it does accumulate.
Yeah,
for sure.
But it's great.
Yeah. So the next question is a subscriber question, and they were just wondering if you have a blog of any sort.
I don't have a blog. I'm on Instagram pretty much 24/7. I'm pretty much always on. Just like stitching is kind of like a reprieve from work and life and everything. Instagram is kind of how I get through the day. It's like I set myself like goals. Like if I get this task done, I can check my Instagram.
That's cool. That's actually really
nice. So it's probably more screen time than I probably should be using, but it keeps me, I think, how I structure my day and stuff. So but I'm always on.
Yeah, Instagram's an amazing place. I think that's what a lot of people use, because you put pictures up and you can just go all the way back to the beginning and see your progress on everything. Pretty cool. So the next question is, how did you learn to stitch, and how long have you been stitching?
So I learned to stitch from my wife Katie. When we had moved to here in Florida, we were separated for a couple months. I got a new job here in Jacksonville, and she stayed behind while we had our house on the market.
Oh, okay.
And so while she was there, she was pretty much there alone. So she picked up cross stitching again to just, keep herself busy while she was there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she finally moved down a couple months later, I saw all the stuff she was working on and was like, that looks like fun.
That's so cool. I wish my husband would do that. Dang.
So And, I mean, and then I picked it, and then I started stitching, and then it's just kind of spiraled into, an obsession almost.
Yeah.
It governs, pretty much non-work hours. It's just all cross stitch all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's something that's really neat, it's special that you guys can do together too. I know Katie's in a lot of your videos too, so I'm sure people are familiar with her. Speaking of stitching and all that stuff, your wall behind you, I can't stop looking. That's a lot of your designs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay. Because I was like,
the other
that's so
day when I
cool.
was like picking up, getting ready for the interview, I was like looking, and I was like, I felt kind of bad because I was like, okay, I did that one. I did that one.
No, I was looking, I'm like, those are his, but no, you should be proud. They look
Yeah,
so
but
good.
it's like, I think this is the only one that Katie has stitched. Well, no, I like, and then the Wakanda one, because
Oh, that was so cool.
I designed that one for her. So
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah.
Yeah, but your wall is
I
awesome.
was like, we gotta get some your stuff framed to put up there.
No, that looks so good. You'll fill it up with both of your stuff for sure. Well, since we're talking about projects, do you have a favorite one that you've stitched so far? I know that's a difficult question.
So like in preparing, I was asking Katie, I was like, I don't know. They're like all my like little babies. Like, I don't know which one, but she was
Yep.
like, and I think I agree. The Splash Mountain one, which was one of the first ones that I did. I think it's kind of still my favorite. It is not a small piece. So it was one of the first ones that just was like, go big or go home. And then now it's like, oh, now I know, like, oh, that's a big pattern. I'm gonna maybe not do that one again.
Not so much. No, that one's pretty. That one's pretty cool. That one's really neat. Oh, love it. I know it's really hard to find, like, narrow down your favorite piece that you've stitched, because there's so many. Everybody always says it's like picking a favorite child or a favorite pet, but
Well, and I think it's like people get to the point where like you start to have so much in your stash that I forget the acronym that like Michelle uses, where it's like you have so much that like you just don't have the time
I think
to stitch it all.
Is it Sable? Stash acquired beyond life expectancy or something, I think.
Yeah.
Something like
So,
that.
and I think then when you just start to pick like what you actually stitch, like once you get going, I think with the craft,
Oh, kitty tail.
then I think just by the mere fact that what you pick to stitch, it starts to mean something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what do you enjoy most about stitching?
Look, there we go.
There you are.
Oh, we're gonna get real squirmy real quick, aren't we? No, don't jump over there where the camera is. I think what I enjoy most about stitching is that it's a hobby that I can do to kind of just decompress from the day. But then what I also enjoy is that, like, depending on the pattern that you pick, it also can be challenging, especially if there's like specialty stitches, or if it's a large pattern, or even if it's a small one, if you're deciding to do like over one on a 28 count or something crazy like that. But and then having discovered Flosstube and the community at large, just that camaraderie that you have with people,
oh yeah,
in the community.
Yep.
I mean, the only thing that kind of sucks is that we're still in the middle of the pandemic, but like I think once I kind of started to really like make friends in the community and stuff, we were all now stuck at home, so it wasn't like there are no more retreats and things to go to, kind of thing. So, but I mean, it will pass, and then once we get through that, then we'll be traveling all the time to stitch everywhere.
That's true. Although because of being in the quarantine, we're all turning to like Zoom and doing Zoom retreats and Zoom meetups, and like I've become friends with people from all over the world that have via Zoom, which is really cool. So
yeah,
it's kind of a neat experience, because you wouldn't meet a lot of the people that you've met this way going to the retreats and stuff. So yeah, the community is just awesome.
Yeah. Well, and then like Garrett got me into doing virtual stitchers. So like every Friday night now, till like 2 a.m. when I can't keep my eyes open anymore. Like, and there's a bunch of people that we all get on Friday nights. So, it's like what I look forward to at the end of the week.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. That's what I do. I host Zoom like every other a week basically for a couple of hours, and we have a little set group that usually is on, and then we get new people every so often, and it's just something to look forward to be able to connect with people still. So yeah, I totally get that, you know, with the stitchers. So so we're going to get out of stitching a little bit and kind of learn a little bit more about you. And this one's, what's your favorite genre of book or movie?
If Julie watches this, she's probably going to yell at me. I don't read as much as I probably should.
Either. It's okay.
But if I do, I usually reach for fiction and like fantasy. Neil Gaiman is probably one of my favorite authors. I like how he kind of always tries to flip the mythology that he's referencing in his stories and stuff. But yeah. And then movies, I mean, then it's pretty much the same genre. I do like a lot of like classic horror films, like old school.
Yes.
You know, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think in your last video, I think I was just watching, you had admitted that you weren't reading the books, right? For stitching.
But I do, I do buy them.
I know you buy them
so that I can take pictures for my Instagram.
So you're still supporting. That's still good.
But, which is, I mean, which is fun.
Yeah.
Because then I try and find editions that like have some cool artwork or are bound really differently, which is also fun. Yeah.
Well, I've been through these interviews, I've been learning about bookstagrammers and booktube and all that stuff. So finding cool books like that for pictures kind of goes along with that whole group of people on Instagram too. So yeah. So what fictional place would you most like to go to?
So I think, which I feel like is the answer everyone gets, it's the obvious answer, is Hogwarts, obviously, but I forget, was it Abby that was talking about how she wanted to go to Hogwarts but to be a professor, not a student?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, yes, I think, yeah. But if I had to pick like a non-Hogwarts, I've been watching the last season of The Magicians, so Fillory, the Magic Land, and that is like on my mind, so I feel like that would be fun.
That would be cool. But, I think I've watched a little bit of that show, so I know what you're talking about. But yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Everybody wants to go to Hogwarts. I think I'm 50 plus interviews so far, and there's a huge chunk of people. I think we should all just get together and meet at Disney, and just that's the closest that we can get, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, when COVID's over, when it's safe. But
yes.
So if you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be?
So like when you sent me the questions for this one, it was a little hard for me to narrow down to like one thing. So I feel like, well, whatever it is that I'm going to do, I want to do with like friends and stuff and have a good time.
Right.
But so if it's not spending a day at Disney, then I think it would be like, I don't know, just spending the day hanging out, getting a good meal, and then ending the day probably with going to see like a Broadway show or an opera or something like that. Because the industry I work in, like that is what I enjoy, and seeing those fun things.
Oh, musicals and that kind of stuff. Is that's not going on right now, right? Like, have you, because of COVID? Okay. Yeah.
I mean, the symphony that I work for, we are one of only a handful of organizations that are still operating and performing. They're slowly starting to come back, but
that's good.
I mean, like stuff in New York for Broadway and like the Met Opera, I don't think that they're really talking about coming back till late fall, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a while.
It's a different world right now.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of going to segue into it. Do you have any other hobbies besides cross stitch?
We always joke that Disney is a hobby of ours too. I mean, being in Florida and like going to Disney, it's also a very, very expensive hobby.
Yes.
But and then like playing music too, but it's one of those things where like I enjoy playing music in my spare time, but because that's also what I do for work and I'm around it all day, sometimes when I get home, like I don't want to think about anything music related.
Right.
So then the cross stitch fills that void.
What do you play?
So I went to school for cello, but
Okay.
I don't. So in the orchestra, I don't actually play in the group. I'm more backstage support. So
Okay.
I prepare all of the sheet music that the orchestra uses for performance.
Oh, very cool. The cello. That's so cool. I mean, I did band when I was, I think we started in 4th or 5th grade and I went all the way through high school. But since then, I don't think I could read a piece of sheet music, which breaks my heart because I put so much time into it. But
It'll come back. If you sat down, it would come back. It's like riding a bike. Yeah.
yeah, I'll have to do that because my oldest daughter plays a whole bunch of different instruments and she can write music and do all
Oh,
that
sweet.
stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's pretty cool. Maybe I'll have to get back into it now that you've inspired me a little bit. Not that I need another hobby because cross stitch takes up every amount of time
Right.
I have, but yeah. Oh, okay, I'm curious on this next one. It's how would your friends describe you?
Um, I was a little bit nervous to ask anyone, so I didn't.
Okay.
But I mean, I would say that they probably would say that, I can be pretty chill. I can also be pretty obnoxious, depending on the situation too. But I would think that I'm a nice person and, fun to be around and yeah.
Talented. You should put talented in there. Definitely. Um, so we're gonna get back into stitching a little bit. And the next one is how do you prefer to stitch? Do you use a hoop, a Q-snap, a frame, that kind of stuff?
I use a hoop. I've tried to use a Q-snap, but I guess because I started with a hoop, I've just gotten used to the sensation of holding the hoop. And then with the Q-snap, because it's a lot thicker,
Mm-hmm.
it's just I can't do it. It's
Not
weird.
comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah. But I haven't tried using like a stand or anything. So I'm wondering if like that would be any better, like, and then using a Q-snap that way. But
Yeah, see, I'm a Q-snap person and I used to hold it and I get how, it's a little bit thicker and I would get arm pain. So I ended up getting just a lap stand that holds a Q-snap
yeah.
and absolutely love it because you can two-hand stitch. It's a little bit quicker, but then you free up having to, hold onto it and have cramps. So, and there's also stands that hold hoops too. So you can kind of get a twofer that way as well. But yeah. Do you have like a preferred fabric that you lean towards at all, or you kind of just whatever?
I started with Ada and I think that's where pretty much everyone starts. And
Yep.
then I feel like I don't really care what I stitch on, but like if I were to like, I've pretty much settled into like 32 count linen is like my sweet spot.
Yep.
Yeah. The coverage is good with 2 strands. But yeah, but I've done stuff on higher counts and, stuff on 14 count too, but depends on the project too.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people say, depending on what you're stitching on. For me, I'm still Ada, so I've never gone anywhere else. But I stitch samplers to smalls on Ada, but curiosity is growing because everybody keeps answering linen or even weave, through these interviews, and I'm like, do I want to try? I don't know, but yeah.
No, but if that's your jam, then
Yeah.
then that's your jam. You know what I mean? But
yeah, it's tempting. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Katie's is 25 count Lugana, and she does it over 1. That's her. She doesn't like doing over 2, but the tiny little. She's not as bad as Ymir with her over 1 on 56, but the 25.
I know. I know. That is so crazy. I can barely see. I had to get bifocals so that I could see like 18 and 20 count Ada. Like I don't understand. Whew. You have to have good eyes for that and a good magnifier.
Yeah.
So have you traveled anywhere with your stitching? Do you have a favorite place that you've gone to? I know not probably in the last year, but ever.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't think I've really traveled too far with my stitching. We always talked about doing like something down at Disney, like taking our stitching for the day, but we don't know. I mean, I've never like flown with stitching, so I don't know like how security would, react to me trying to bring in a, needle thread and pair of scissors into the parks. But maybe Michelle McGraw, I think, has taken stitching.
He's taken stitching, yeah.
Down there
yeah.
too. But I mean, now I feel like that it's much more, of an active hobby for me. I feel like if I'm flying somewhere, so, definitely try and take something with me. But
yeah, I mean, it kills time sitting in the airport and being on the airplane. You just have to make sure that you just take scissors that you don't want, that you don't care about too much, or like little nail clippers or something. But
yeah,
I think taking it to the parks, that would be, I don't know, the parks you're going pretty much nonstop most of the time. It would be hard to get any work done in the parks, but maybe in the hotel room or something. Because I know that Michelle did take it with her, but I don't know if she did much stitching while she was in the park. I think I remember her saying that she didn't get a whole lot done.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
I don't, and then that's like the thing too, because it's like when we first moved down and we started, going to the parks regularly because we could, because it's, pretty close within driving distance.
Yeah.
We started to do the parks differently. Like, usually when you would go, you're there for like a week at a time.
Yep.
And, you're trying to do, this laundry list of stuff. And then over time, it was just like, well, we would just kind of pick one thing and be like, all right, well, then we'll just bum around the rest of the day.
Because we live by.
Right. So now I feel like I could go and just be like, well, we'll just hang out in front of the castle. It's just for like 8 hours.
I don't know if you're going to be really well liked in this interview part, because you've got 80-degree weather and you live like super close to Disney. So you've got 2 strikes against you right now.
I would be lying if I didn't say that like the proximity to Disney wasn't a factor in when I accepted this job.
That's awesome. No, that would be so cool. I mean, we lived in California and we were a couple of hours away from Disney there. And it's convenient. One, it saves you money because you don't have to pay for a hotel. Although I'm sure it's nice every so often to kind of treat yourself with but yeah, that would be amazing for a Disney fan. So you're very fortunate. I was just kidding. I'm sure people aren't going to hate you.
Yeah, I mean, we are very lucky, especially, when we were going all the time, because, it's not a lot. It's not something that a lot of people can do.
Yeah, no, not at all. Nope. So what can you not do without for your stitching besides the basics, like your favorite go-to must-have?
I'm a bit ridiculous with the amount of scissors that I have. So in addition to like, okay, I need to have, this needle minder goes with this project. It's like these pair of scissors go with this project. And, and then when I work on that project, I use those scissors and I don't use them for like, I have the little Edgar scissor holder from Stephanie at Lindy Stitches. So whenever I stitch a Lindy Stitches project, I have to use those scissors.
Cool. I love it though. That's so neat. So that makes me wonder then, do you have a pair of scissors for every whip, or do you just have a pair of scissors that stays without while you're working on it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I don't have, I have quite a few pairs. I don't have that many, but it's more, I feel like a vibe, like when it doesn't help that like I get them on Amazon. So they're not expensive scissors, but it's usually just like, those look cool, order, and like those look cool, order, and then it's like it's a vibe that goes with the project too. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. That's really neat. Love that. So this is kind of a fun and interesting one, and it's, how do you decide on what you're going to work on next for your projects?
It's very random, but also not. I feel like because of like the work that I do, and it's very detail oriented. So of course I picked a hobby that can also be very detail oriented. But like I don't count my stitches. I don't do any of the challenge groups, only because like I don't want to get that meticulous
Yep.
into the craft. But so then I also try and be like, okay, like you know, like when everyone does their whip parades at the end of the year, you're like, what am I going to stitch, you know, next year? So like there's a couple projects I have in mind, but you know, and like the needlework expo is coming up, so it's like, of course, like that's gonna mess all that up, you
Oh
know. And
yeah.
so it's like shiny things, ooh,
Yeah, I've
you
already
know.
ordered a few too many patterns already pre-ordered. So yeah,
You know, and then
totally get
like
that.
last night I started a new project of a piece that I had already stitched, but I want to stitch again because there's two versions of it and I want to do
Okay.
both of them on the same fabric. So, you know, it's just sometimes, you know, it's just like, well, that's what I'm gonna do, you know. Oh well.
And then you have your secret stitching for the patterns that you design as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
So
Oh, well, that's kind of neat. I think it's there's not very many people that have like a rhyme or reason to what they stitch that I've discovered over the interviews that I've done. So I think all of us are just kind of like a whatever calls to us or that kind
yeah,
of stitcher. So and that's understandable. There are a couple that have like a rotation, which is really cool, and I was thinking of trying that, but I never never got around to it. So nope.
yeah. I mean, and I'm one too that like I could set, you know, like a rotation. It's like these, I'm gonna work on these projects these days. But then it's like I would then get to that day and be like, I don't want to do that. I
Uh-huh.
want to stitch on this. It's
Exactly.
also why like I can't like meal plan for the week because I like I don't want to eat that.
Yep. That's us too. My whole family is like that. You can't meal plan.
No,
Nope.
it's like
Yeah. I get it.
yeah,
I get it. It's just fun. And it really is a true thing when someone says a project calls to them because that's what it does is it's just like stitch me, you know. So yeah.
yeah.
So we are down to the last question, and I love this question so much. It is what's the best thing that has happened to you so far this year? So you can include 2020 since
I
we're
was
only
gonna
a couple
say
of
because
months in.
we're
Yeah, like
still
it's
it's a little early in this year.
yeah.
I mean, the only thing that really comes to mind is because we haven't really gone anywhere or done anything. We did take one trip. We went a couple hours south down to Vero Beach for a weekend,
Oh, nice.
uh, and we stayed at the resort that we were at. But I mean, other than that, I mean, that was I think the highlight really of last year. Other than you know that I'm working, you know, and that's not something that a lot of people, you
Yep.
know, have the luxury of right now. But so, I mean, this year, last year, and this year, it's going to be weird, you know, but
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
little things. Yeah.
That and that's why I asked this question at the end because it kind of gets everybody thinking about the good things that have happened, you know, because so much bad has happened. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, still working is a huge thing. It's so heartbreaking. Many of my friends recently just lost their jobs
Yeah.
over a whole reorg. So yeah, just that's just a blessing in itself. So and little
Yeah.
vacations like that um, are also a blessing because you need those. You need little getaways. So
Well, it's like, you know, Katie and I have been talking about trying to do something similar, but, you know, because it's like, not, and it's not that like we want to like do anything. It's like
right.
we just want to do nothing, not at home.
Somewhere else, right? Yep.
Somewhere else, do
Yep.
nothing. Just,
Yep. I totally get that. My husband and I were supposed to go away for Valentine's weekend just so that we
oh,
could have
yeah.
just like a night away. But the snow happened, so that didn't happen. But it was still like we still made the best of it. But I totally get that. Just wanting to get away and just stay somewhere else for the night and just, you know, yeah,
Yeah.
that's just a whole different experience. So I
Yeah. It's
totally get
change
it.
of scenery. I think sometimes it just kind of helps.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the end of the interview. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to chat.
Yeah.
I know you probably worked today, so I've been stitching all day, so not really been doing a whole heck of a lot. But I do appreciate it, and I think people are really going to enjoy getting to know you. It was a lot of fun, so thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoyed it so much. Thank you for having me.
So we'll say bye to everybody on Flosstube.
Bye, everyone.